Hello, welcome. Thank you for joining us on this edition of News 2. I'm April Knight, and for Sandra Gumansing, topping a newscast. If you're a government employee and you count on the timeliness of your direct deposit pay, you are probably one of those who got a bit of a scare Thursday morning. According to the Department of Finance, a glitch caused a delay in the direct deposit pays. Acting Governor Osbert Potter lost no time reassuring government workers that their wages were coming very soon. Government workers woke up Thursday expecting a paycheck, but because of a technical glitch at the Department of Finance, found their account balances unchanged.
That was a Department of Finance. That was not a banking problem. It was a problem at Department of Finance when they were preparing to get the file transmitted to the banks.
The majority of government workers who get direct deposit were all affected. Acting Governor Osbert Potter reassured employees early Thursday morning, saying most of them should be getting their pay by 2 p.m.
What's going to happen is a direct deposit that will be available and accessible today by 2 o'clock for those who banks are local banks. Because not everyone gets direct deposit, gets it through a local bank. Some people get their direct deposits, with off-island banks.
But those with off-island direct deposit would have to wait a little longer.
Those individuals would not get their direct deposit available to them until about tomorrow.
The glitch was discovered Wednesday evening when Finance tried to transmit to banks a file that would ultimately deposit the funds into the employees' bank accounts. When that didn't happen, they immediately started the fix. No notice was sent out that the pay would be delayed.
There was no notice. There was no time for notice. They were just working feverishly on this from last night. There was no time for notice. The time for notice was this morning when they got through resolving the problem and getting it finally sent to the bank.
As of 4:26 in the afternoon on Thursday, an update from Government House indicated that local banks have indeed started receiving funds from Finance. At that time, First Bank still has not registered any change in the direct deposit situation, but Government House spokesperson Sam Topp said all should be settled by close of business. The St. Thomas-St. John Board of Elections met Thursday afternoon with only a handful of members present. On the agenda was a discussion of the upcoming budget hearing. Election officials testified before the Senate on August 25th to defend their budget. The discussion of polling places for the 2016 election was also on the table, although Chairman Arturo Watlington suggested pushing back that discussion until they had a full complement of members. They were also to discuss amendments to Title 18 of the VI Code, procedures for campaign disclosure, compliance, as well as talk about the election system website. We'll have updates on the results of that meeting in a later newscast. Vitima officials appeared before senators on Thursday to defend their fiscal year 2016 budget. The new director says what they're working with is just the minimum needed to keep the agency running, and they have a couple of positions that need to be funded to help their efforts. News 2's Erica Parsons has that story.
The territory's emergency management agency could use more money.
It meets the minimum, as we would say, minimum standard.
The proposed fiscal year 2016 budget from the executive branch is $4.5 million from the general fund and a total budget request of roughly $11 million, which includes federal funding. Vitima officials want a $1 increase to the emergency services fund charge.
It also is going to help us to do our upgrade that we need to be done to our 911 system.
There's currently a $1 surcharge on phone lines. That money is split 3 ways between Vitima, EMS, and fire services. Vitima wants 50% of the fund instead of a third.
A lot of the training that each of those agencies go to or participate in, Vitima pays that.
Director Barnes told lawmakers there are 2 critical positions that need to be filled and aren't funded by the budget. One, a deputy director of operations, and the other, an HR manager.
There's some positions that we do need to get filled, and so unlike most, I work with what I have, but we do need 2 critical positions right now.
Lawmakers question, though, the large number of vacancies in the agency, almost 20. 12 of them in the 911 emergency center. Officials testified that the executive branch included those positions to be funded. Last fiscal year, they weren't. The hope there that the new hires would cut overtime costs. Vitima is also paying off a $1.1 million debt to FEMA for grants that weren't properly administered. Erica Parsons, News 2.
Officials from the Bureau of Information Technology also appeared before senators on Thursday to defend their 2016 budget. The elderly residents of Estate Wim Gardens are speaking out against the return of a former resident. They say Gustavus Frederick was just released from prison after serving time for beating 81-year-old George Gumbs with a steel pipe way back in May. The residents say Frederick is dangerous and the attack on Gumbs wasn't his first assault in the complex. So they staged a protest after law enforcement appeared with Frederick Thursday morning.
Gustav Frederick came in here and has been a threat to everybody from the time he came here.
This is the third person he attacked here. He tried to kill a guy with a pickaxe. He hit a man on building 11 or something with the same piece of pipe, and now he beat up Mr. Gumbs.
My mother is 91 years old, Clarice Sanders. She lives right next door to him. He's back again. She's going to be even more scared. And I also have the burden, and I'm not well. I need to get some kind of help that he does not get back in this place.
On the lease said, once you shed blood in a project, you're not supposed to be living here no more.
Yesterday we had a meeting concerning this problem, and as far as I understood, before he comes out, they're supposed to get a place, or so he could transfer to wherever they got to put him. But he cannot come here. I tell him I have a problem with him.
Our concern for our dad is his safety here in WIM and the safety of the other inmates who are also elderly. And if this man is a threat to people's life, I don't think it is a good idea for him to be living in Wim Garden.
I stand fully with everyone else to protest them bringing him back into Wim Garden.
And he can't come back in here to attack Mr. Gumbs again. He attacks everybody.
A St. Croix man, meanwhile, is dead after a drive-by shooting Wednesday afternoon. Police are looking for leads in the murder of Dave Edwards Jr., who was found dead in a white Honda Civic. Police responded to a call of shots fired in Estate St. George and Diamond just before 7 on Wednesday evening. Edwards was found in a white Honda Civic that had a bullet hole in the passenger side window, and the car had struck a tree. EMTs pronounced the victim dead at the scene. Also on June 23rd, while on regular patrol, officers arrested known felon Michael Rambo Lewis, 36, of Water Bay. Lewis was observed by officers in the area of Cokie Point with a gun magazine that was visible in his back pocket, and when approached by the officers, Lewis fled from their presence. Officers located Lewis moments later in a nearby residence where he was advised of his Miranda rights, at which point he directed officers to 3 firearms within the premises. Lewis was charged and arrested with 3 counts of possession of an unlicensed firearm, with his bail set at $100,000. Richard Antonio Hodge of St. Thomas was sentenced to at least 60 years in prison for shooting 2 security guards at the Lockhart Gardens Kmart area back in 2013. The sentence was handed out by District Judge Curtis Gomez on Wednesday. Hodge was convicted in 2014 for armed robbery and the shooting of a messenger working for Ranger Armored Service and a supervisor as well, who were delivering coins and picking up more than $33,000 in cash to take to the bank. Hodge, 30 years of age, was sentenced for discharge of a firearm during a commission of a crime of violence. 2 men who were charged with smuggling undocumented Haitian migrants pleaded guilty to encouraging and inducing aliens to enter the United States for financial and commercial gain in violation of law. Kendrick Christopher, a Grenadian national, and Jared Shillingford, a Dominican national, were involved in the smuggling of some 61 Haitians who were found by the Coast Guard aboard an overcrowded boat off of St. John on June 10th. Christopher and Shillingford both face a maximum sentence of 10 years in prison and a fine of $250,000. Turning our attention overseas, high drama at the Supreme Court as justices rule on the legality of tax subsidies in the Affordable Care Act. It's that money that helps 7 million people afford health insurance. And today, the High Court ruled those subsidies should be available no matter where you live. Craig Boswell is at the Supreme Court, where reaction was swift on both sides.
Supporters cheered as a critical part of Obamacare was declared constitutional. The ACA is here to stay. In a 6-3 ruling, the court said the government can continue to provide tax subsidies to Americans who buy health insurance through the federal marketplace. President Obama declared victory for his signature piece of legislation.
After multiple challenges to this law before the Supreme Court, the Affordable Care Act is here to stay.
Opponents argued the law, as written, says only people who buy through state-run exchanges are entitled to the subsidies.
The rule of law is all about black words on a white piece of paper. It's what the actual language says. That's the only thing as an American you can count on is actual law.
The Supreme Court and various justices have said you can't look at 4 words out of context, that we have a responsibility to look at the law as a whole.
Chief Justice John Roberts wrote the majority opinion saying Congress passed the Affordable Care Act to improve health insurance markets, not to destroy them.
I think John Roberts again rewrote the law to give the president, the administration, what it wanted.
Justice Antonin Scalia agreed, quipping, "We should start calling this law SCOTUS Care." Republicans vow to continue to fight to repeal and replace the law in Congress. Craig Boswell, CBS News, the Supreme Court.
Several Republican presidential contenders have already vowed to repeal the law if they are elected, virtually assuring that Obamacare will remain a hot topic during the 2016 election cycle. Keeping our eye on the economy, here's the New York Stock Exchange with our stock market watch. Everything down, the Dow 75, NASDAQ 10, S&P 6. Coming up on NEWS2, scholarships handed out by 2 organizations, a private airline company and a local Rotary club. We'll have details when we come back. On Thursday, Bulky International Airways announced that they will be offering a $10,000 annual scholarship in the name of Robert J. Phipps. Phipps was the first student that went through the Youth Aviation Club of the local Tuskegee Airmen chapter and got his pilot license. Recently, the club named Robert J. Phipps Aviator Award for its members, and Bulky established a scholarship in his name. Bulky marketing manager Fiona Horn said that the company has seen the dedication, willingness, and enthusiasm of the young person of the youth of this island to pursue their dreams of a career in aviation. Rotary Club of St. Croix awarded 2 scholarships at its weekly meeting on Thursday. St. Croix Central High graduate Ariana Agatha was one of the Stanley Farrelly Scholarship recipients, and the other went to Ashanti Edwards, also of the St. Croix Central High. The Stanley Farrelly Awards are named for one of the founding members of the club and have been given for the last 10 years. The club also reissued a scholarship to Silkia Carmona, who was a recipient last year, but asked that her award be placed on hold so she could go into the National Guard. Congratulations. The Office of the Governor's Americans with Disabilities Act is pleased to announce the second in a 3-part series of town hall meetings. The town hall meeting will be held on St. Thomas on June 25th at the Sugar Estate Head Start located at 135 Sugar Estate. The meeting will be from 5:30 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. Individuals with disabilities are encouraged to attend this town hall meeting and have their issues and concerns heard by members of the Matt Potter administration. Well, top travel industry representatives gathered in the Virgin Islands this week for the 22nd Annual Virgin Islands Destination Symposium. The event, hosted by the VI Hotel and Tourism Association in partnership with the Department of Tourism, gathers travel experts from around the world. They met with colleagues from all over the place, networking and consulting, and they took time to explore and soak in all 3 islands. This year, they also have a catchy theme. Here's more from the organizers.
It brings our top wholesalers and travel partners down to the destination to discuss marketing, advertising, and PR initiatives, and just to help build relationships with our partners.
So we got creative with our theme this year. It's called You Are the I in VI, because we feel like everybody in the Virgin Islands, and even the people who visit, are all what make the Virgin Islands what it is. How much our people care, the love we show, how nice we are. So it was really exciting, and we've got a whole social media.
Lieutenant Governor Osbert Potter is reminding corporate citizens to file franchise taxes or annual fees by the June 30th deadline. Those fees should be satisfied along with the submission of the proper reports. According to law, every registered corporation, LLC, LLP, and LLLP are required to pay a franchise tax or annual fee to the Office of the Lieutenant Governor on or before June 30th of every year. Failure to comply with the annual requirements will result in the assessment of penalties and interest or even administrative involuntary dissolution. On St. Thomas, looking forward to participating in their traditional day of service, students from Entrepreneur Business Institute, or EBI, sponsored by the International Capital Management Company and the University of the Virgin Islands School of Business, will be offering their time to operate their very own car wash business. This with the idea of bringing back to the community by fundraising money to help out the much-needed nonprofit organization, Family Resource Center. It has been going through rough economic times. The event will also be a way of helping the students by teaching them leadership and daily management. The event will be held on Saturday, June 27th from 9 a.m. until 2 p.m. at the Fort Christian parking lot. Meanwhile, the clock is ticking for some of Humane Society's furry residents. The Humane Society of St. Thomas is asking for your help in their 30 for 30 challenge. July 1st is the deadline for these dogs before Humane Society is forced to put them down because of the overcrowding at the shelter. Humane Society cannot legally turn away any animal left at its doorstep, and the number of animals adopted or fostered is way below the number taken in by adopters. Please call 775-0599 and see how you can help. Stick around. Your News 2 AccuWeather forecast is coming up next.